Here is Sten's video. His landing, about the same time the Yana came in. Late in the day, very light wind. That means we're going to glide a little farther than we're used to. If there was a headwind, we're going to realize our glide ratio a little more realistically. So he did what I had asked her to do, which was to get a little lower initially, so I don't have so much altitude to burn. You realize he's still a little higher than he wanted to, even though he let himself get low. Again, that light wind. So he's going to use some speed bar. You see his legs extend. The dive rate picks up. He sees the ground coming, gets off of that speed bar, and lands on his feet. Everything looks really good right here. It's exactly what we're looking for. Keep that speed. With speed comes control, and your flare will be there for you rather than coming in, letting it get mushy and kind of falling out. Now, we can see that his landing did have a little bit of a vertical downward descent to it, and the feet are kind of planting into the ground kind of hard, slowing down, almost Flintstone-y. And I like a good horizontal, flat, and sexy Flintstone landing, but sometimes this can really hurt your ankles or feet or something. You can come in on crutches. No names given here, but on light wind landings, they kind of show the weaknesses. So here, super picky. I like this landing a lot. There's nothing wrong with it. But if we want to polish it up just a little extra percentage point, here's what I see. Here, he had a nice stable descent. He hits that speed bar. It dives a little faster. And we're going to release that bar to go horizontal and still have all the brakes to give. Now, look, he gets pretty close to the ground by the cone. Horizontal, 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 horizontal. Man, that was a nice glide. I love this horizontal component. But we know that the lift and drag both increases to the square of the speed. So if you double the speed, you get 4 times the lift and drag. But it works in reverse. When you go half as fast as you were, you only have a quarter of the lift. So this last half of the flare needs to be followed through a little bit better, in my opinion. Right? He might have been able to glide just a few more feet and land without so much pressure into the ankle right there, into the foot. So if we zoom in, we can actually see what kind of happened here. Lovely release of the bar. Nice horizontal glide across the ground. I mean, that's like 30-some feet. I don't know. And he comes down to feel the pressure. You see the hands above the helmet. Now he came down to feel. And then he freezes there for a little bit. Look at that. And then comes down. And when he does touch, he hasn't really utilized all of his flare travel distance, his authority. I believe everything here was amazing. The hands come down, and they should have continued to come down. Chase that pressure. Back to the lift and drag, increasing the square of the speed. If he was doing 20 miles an hour here, he starts slowing down. 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, whatever it might be. If he's doing 10, maybe he had 200 pounds of lift for 200 pounds of load, so he's not sinking or climbing. But by the time he goes half as fast, he's going to have a quarter of 200. He's going to have 50 pounds of lift, and he still weighs the same, whatever that number may be. So knowing that you're slowing down for 35 feet of horizontal, knowing it's not sustainable forever, go ahead and get on those brakes. If he did get on early, would he climb? Maybe an inch, and I think it's just enough to get himself a little better situated out of that harness, a little more upright, ready to run, a little less jamming the ankles, the knees. He did a pretty good job here. I mean, he landed. Now, after the fact, if we're really critical and picky, the wing starts to fall to the side. You see him leaning to the high side. We really want to walk to the low side and keep those brakes while you turn around. He catches it. The wing goes down. There's nothing wrong here. But if you wonder why maybe your wing does nose over from time to time, you might not be as quick as he was to get on that right brake like he does right there. So one more time, kind of zoomed out, seeing what he does. He applies the speed bar right about here, starts to dive. It kind of did a dive recovery and then another dive. He sees the ground coming, nice horizontal, and just go ahead and get on those brakes. You'll have a little softer landing. I mean, we're nitpicking here. This is super 1% stuff. But you asked, Now, caveat, this is end of the day. Super smooth air. We are not worried about a dust devil right now, okay? We're not worried about turbulence from a tree line or a house line or anything crazy. There's almost no wind to speak of. So we can use the speed bar. Generally speaking, we don't use the bar close to the ground, right? If we don't want to be predisposed to a frontal collapse. But there is no chance. I'm going to say no chance of a frontal right here. Now, the same approach done middle of the day, done in the summer, done in a turbulent area, in a new landing zone you don't know about, without any markers. Yeah, I'm not going to be using my bar close to the ground. I can't afford a big old frontal and a subsequent descent. But in this case, this is a speed bar landing. So, huge disclaimer, don't try this at home. But if it's super smooth, and maybe you'll end up actually safer. That's my argument. So, really nice landing, Stan. Keep it up. Don't be afraid of that pressure. You already bled off all that energy. Go ahead and follow it through. Get those hands down a little deeper. And see how the hands come back? That can be kind of scary in a paramotor. Maybe a little more vertical. Once the brake goes through the pulley, it doesn't know your hands are going back or down. And his hands are not. I think he has a little more travel. Stan's a tall guy. He's got pretty long arms. He can bring those hands down and get just a little more travel and maybe fly a little bit further. But I like this. Look at this. Hands up, horizontal, for distance. But now that we got rid of that energy, just go ahead and get on those brakes. It's a super small correction. But let's do it again.